talk to us today about Graphic Bliss. And she is the owner and lead designer for Graphic Bliss.
Thank you. Good morning. Oh, gotta love public speaking. Oh, yes, I'm glad. So my name is Teresa Ewers. I am the owner of Graphic Bliss. I've had the business for 17 years now. And quite interesting, my husband was the one that talked me into doing it. But I don't think I really realized that I might be good at what I do until I did something a little bit illegal. August 28th of 1999, I had the opportunity to go see Cher at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. So excited. Before it happened, I had a dream that I forged a backstage pass and got backstage and got to meet her. And my friend who was going with me, we had the same exact dream. So I think it was destined because we started researching, and on eBay, somebody put the pass on there. So I printed it out, recreated it, had one pass. Before I knew it, I had 3 fake passes ready for this show. So the time came, we saw the show, amazing show. Started heading down backstage. I'm shaking. I'm like, oh my goodness, is this gonna work? And it did. I got backstage. We met Fergie before she became Fergie, a Backstreet Boy, Cyndi Lauper. And I got back home thinking, oh my gosh, I am so good. I mean, goodness, people just saw a fake backstage pass and it worked. And I called the company that created the passes to see if I can get some freelance work. And they said, you just don't have enough experience. And I just couldn't have the heart to tell them what I did. So I let it go. But my husband went and told me, instead of relying on somebody else to provide you that experience, why don't you start your own business? And it was probably the most asinine thing I ever heard in my life. Really? Start my own business? I love the comfort of just somebody telling me what to do. And then I get a check. I mean, it's so much more work for me to, do stuff and do the work and taxes and I didn't think any of that was for me. And now 17 years later, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. My job is to create all day. I get to work with companies as a partner to develop branding for their business to put them in the best light. And during that 17 years, I found that I guess I get easily bored because if I didn't have enough work with Graphic Bliss in 2002, I created Pride and Equality magazine, which is published every year for Pride. And then from there, I developed New Mexico Entertainment magazine. I truly felt that I constantly heard people saying things like, there's nothing to do in New Mexico. There's never anything to do in New Mexico. Nothing good happens here. I just didn't believe it. I mean, we live in a state with amazing art, events coming through all the time. We're now becoming like the next Hollywood with the movies and television shows that are filmed here. There is always something happening here. So my goal now is for New Mexico Entertainment to become that hub for everything that's events and entertainment in New Mexico, so that people can go and find out what's happening in one spot instead of 12 different websites and 16 different publications that they got to pick up to find out everything. So we're working on that. But we're here for Graphic Bliss. How many people here actually have a logo for their business? Funny enough, not everybody raised their hand. I get to develop that foundation. I truly believe that in order for you to stand out, you need an image to stand out with. Nike had the swoosh. Burger King has that burger thing. Everybody has some kind of element to describe themselves. If you have nothing, you're not really going to stand out. So I start with working with the business to create that foundation. And from there, I take it and put it on possibly anything that you need to promote your business. Business cards, flyers, brochures, anything you need. That's my job. In the time that I've had my business, when I first started it, I really thought, well, if you're making money, if you're paying your bills, then that's really all you need to do. You must be doing really well because you could pay your bills. 3 kids later, I realize that's not enough. I have a 15-year-old that's talking about college, and my head literally explodes anytime he says the word college. And I thought to myself, wow, I don't think I really've done enough to learn what my business is capable of doing. So after 17 years of having my company, I found myself meeting with business coaches and taking classes and learning all aspects that I didn't realize I needed to know. Because I thought, well, I'm a graphic designer and I design stuff, so that's really all I need to know as a business owner. And it's not. So it's been a very interesting journey over the past 2 years to know what goals I'm setting, what goals I need to set in order to succeed. And one of those was knowing that I did not need every single person as a client. I was convinced, well, if they have money, obviously I need to be working with them. That is not the case. I have come across a great deal of people in the time that I've worked. Some that thought because they were paying me, it meant that they can talk to me and treat me in a manner that was completely disrespectful, but it was okay because I'm giving you money. So then you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, what am I really worth? So that was another thing I had to learn. But the one thing I think that's a challenge for me now is that I now know what client I want. I know what I'm looking for, but it's now finding that, where to find them. I know that I'm looking for a business that understands that they need more than just, okay, I made a website, so go make money. They need an identity. They know that they need to create material to hand to people. They need this. And they realize it's not a one-shot deal. They don't make, it's like, okay, well, I made a logo, so I don't need anything else. I'll be fine. Oh, I got business cards, so that's all I really need. Oh, I got a postcard, then I'll just send that. There is so much more to promoting yourself than one product. And I'm looking for that client that understands that and understands that they may have to come to my office, more than 3 times a month just to sit down and say, these are my goals, what do we need to do? And actually create a plan for the whole year, not just a one-shot deal. But it's interesting, and Stacy just mentioned there's over 500 networking events, which I had no idea there was. And I feel that times when I go to these events, there's some great businesses and great people I meet. But a lot of times, a lot of people go there just for that instant connection, for that moment to say, okay, I really need to make $500 like right now by Friday, so I just need that order to come in right now. I'm definitely one that you need to have a connection. You need to learn about the people you're working with. You need to learn about their business. You need to learn about even their outside interests. You need to develop a relationship in order for that connection to last longer than one business transaction. And those are the businesses and people that I'm looking to work with. But I just haven't found the right place to find them yet. So I would say that's one of my biggest challenges right now. That, I am quite open to feedback of where I can look to find them. Goodness. I guess that's it.
So now we're going to open it up for Q&A. I also asked that if you ask a question right beforehand, just go ahead and introduce yourself and just say the name of your organization or business that you represent. And I ask of you to repeat your question in the microphone so that we can get everybody in the back to also hear that as well.
Okay. Yes.
My name's Elliot Spenzel. I'm a certified public accountant here in Albuquerque. A lot of what you said really resonates with me, just in my own personal journey. So, what was the moment? Did you have a moment, an epiphany, whatever, or was it evolutionary, where you actually crystallized in your mind that there was an ideal client that you realized you should go after rather than taking anything and everything?
Was there a epiphany that happened when I realized what type of client I truly was looking for? Actually, there was, and it took 2 years, which is the 2 years that I talked about that I realized this. I picked up a client that, at face value, they were going to be bringing in $1,000 a month, which is a lot for me. And I thought this is going to be perfect. They understand what what I want. I thought communication was bad. They usually spent every day sending me a message of, do I really have to explain things to you like you're a 5-year-old? I think I'm pretty clear on what I'm saying. I got a lot of that every day. I was belittled every day. And if I talked to somebody about it, their response was, but they're paying you. And I thought to myself, that can't be the end all be all. It wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I made the decision to drop that client, which is, in the long run, yes, is going to hurt my bottom line. But I truly feel that if I take the initiative to find the client that I really want to look for, and I did, before I dropped them, I sat down at my desk and I started making a list. I figured out who the clients that I have now, out of those clients, who is there that is the epitome of who I want to work with. And I'm going to give a shout out to him. What goes around, Jasmine is the owner. She is a wonderful woman, and she is definitely one that understands that it takes more than just creating a postcard and sending it out to get people in. She is constantly always figuring out ways to promote herself and promote the business. And so I realized, okay, that's a client I'm looking for. So I began to sit down and write down every characteristic of what I liked about Jasmine, what I liked about her business, what she does. And that's when I realized that I had the outline, I had a structure now of what I was looking for. When I compared that to the client that was bringing in a lot of money a year, they might have hit one thing on that list. And I realized from that moment on, it's not about money. It's about not only creating something for that business that they're going to walk away satisfied with, but they can come back to me knowing that I understand what they're looking for, and I will have their back to help their business grow. And then the money is just a nice, cherry on top. So I would say that was the epiphany for me, is when I realized my respect was worth more than a check that they sent me to get work done. Yes?
TJ Cook, ABQID. There's lots of graphic designers, marketers, things like that. What differentiates you?
I hate this question. No, I'm kidding. We always, all us graphic designers, we're just so unique. We're all unique. We all do different things. We have the same basic foundation. We are going to create a brand for you. I feel for me, for my business, for what I do differently, is the fact that I take the time to sit down and listen. I don't think a lot of businesses do that. A lot of customers that come to me, when I work with them the first time, I hear a lot of stories that usually end with, this is what they told me I should do. You have to be a partner in your own design. You can't allow somebody to tell you what you should be doing with your own business. So I have to spend that time to sit down, learn about that business, and all I'm doing is giving feedback. I'm giving ideas. But it comes down to the business owner making the final decision. But I like to see myself that I'm a partner in that creation of whatever project we're doing. It's not me just saying, oh, you need a logo? You should do this. Here's these designs. Pick one. Okay, you're done? Okay, give me my money. I am not like that. I want it to be a lot deeper, which is why I look for relationships, not transactions. Yes?
I'm Katie Lorenzo from McKee Wallwork. So totally agree with you that relationship is key. I think that the industry is totally shifting, right? So design is becoming democratized. Your same clients who you made your list about and you know exactly who you want to talk to can essentially get the same service from like an online site. So in facing that challenge, how do you plan on capturing their business instead of, letting them go online and pay a cheap fee?
So if I'm understanding, how do I keep customers to come to me instead of going to an online business for $5, Fiverr? I really feel that in that question, it comes down to being personable. You can't be personable with a computer. A lot of times, yes, I work with clients over the computer, but I can guarantee you I'm going to meet them someday. They're going to know who I am. I think a lot of times we get so caught up, and I did. I had a lot of people when I did meet through networking events. They were just like, "Oh, I have a program that I could just make my stuff." And I'll ask a question. Okay, well, how long did it take you to do? Oh, like 4 hours. They were like, that's 4 hours you could have spent on actually working on your business instead of creating this design. I feel being personable, being able to touch and feel is the way that I bring people in. It gets to a point that you can't just rely on being behind a computer. And those online sites, you just brought up the fine print of that, the company that you were talking about to, put your email address in. It's all about that fine print. You see something that says, oh, $5 for a logo. Oh my gosh, I'll do that. And before you know it, you just spent $100 to get it done. Or you're paying $5 for a logo that really doesn't represent your business at all. See, thank you, sir. I gave it the nice way. He just went right to it. It sucks. It doesn't, I don't like looking for an easy fix when it comes to getting something created. It's going to take time. And I feel for me, because I offer the being personable and being able to sit down in front of somebody and talk to them, because when I first start with a client, we have to do a consultation. We have to sit down and talk about it. So they're going to know me before we do any work. And we're going to see if we're compatible. And it should be a situation that if they're not compatible for me, I shouldn't work with them, and vice versa. And you don't really get that with an online program. And a lot of that happens because of the fact that when a business starts, and I can attest, I did this myself, when you start a business, you are set on, okay, well, I only have this much money, so I'm going to find the cheapest way to get things done. And then when you're a year down the line and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, why did I make the decisions I made? And it was just based on trying to be cheap. That's how the business is going to start coming across. If you look for ways to just cut corners and whatnot, it's going to show across in your business. So I offer a quality and and being personal that I don't think happens in a lot of graphic design companies anymore. Yes.
I heard you ask us, how do I find that ideal client? I've got my list, I know what they look like, I know who they are. And my question to you, I'm Barbara Dawson with Balancing Life and Work. My question to you is, if you've got clients that go, oh my gosh, they fit this profile, are you also going to them and saying, who do you know that's like you? Are you getting those referrals?
So have I used my clients as a streamline to find those clients that I'm looking for? Yes, that's actually, I have been using them as a referral base. That's all I have at this moment, which they have been awesome. They have provided me with some people. And also in the same truth, some of the clients that are great will send me people that they're like, they need a logo, but they know nothing about them. So one of the things when I was working on figuring out what it was I needed was also educating my client on what I needed. Because before, all I was saying was, I would love a referral. The best way you can help me is send a referral, but I gave no instruction on what type of referral I was looking for. So that I worked on. So I am using my clients, but it would be nice to step out into an event to meet new people and at least have a feeling that I'm gonna find someone there. Unfortunately, and I love the chambers, I do, I think they do some great things, but when I first started my business, I felt like I was in high school again working with chambers. I would walk into an event and there was all these little groups and they all talked to each other. I lasted there for about 10 minutes. I don't want to be in high school again. As business owners, we should all be collaborating and working together. It should never feel like that. So all you chambers watching out there, just do better for your people. No clicks, no clicks. Clicks are bad. But yes, I have used them and I will continue to and am working on educating them on what I need. Yes?
Working with, Charles White, organizer here at Million Cups. When working with a graphic designer or a graphic design firm, what are some things that us as business owners, whether or not it's a completely refresh, redesign, or whether it's working on some sort of marketing material or a logo, what are some things that we can prepare for before we go through your consultation?
I think it's important to know somewhat of what you're looking for. I know that with some people they're like, I have absolutely no idea what I want, and that's why you go to a graphic designer. But I think that also gets you into trouble because you start getting designs that have absolutely nothing to do with your image. So if you can come in with at least one thing, one goal with your logo or whatever it is that you want to design, that's always a good foundation to start with. I would also, as fair warning, as I've worked with many people now, and this has become a regular thing, one of the questions you should ask your designer when you meet with somebody is whether or not you will own the work once it's completed. I have met so many people that had to get stuff recreated because the company owned the work. It is a way to hold a client hostage. I find that disgusting. I never felt that I have to keep somebody's work hostage in order for them to come back. If I'm not doing my job, if I'm not providing them with quality work, they definitely should find somebody who is. And I'm not gonna keep them captive in order to keep giving them, for them to keep giving me money. So one question you definitely want to ask when you work with a new graphic designer is if the work that is being produced will be owned outright to you when it's completed. If they say no, you say good day and you leave. You definitely want to find a designer that's going to release those designs to you because you need it. You need to have it on hand at any moment, like for when you need to do a speaking engagement and you got to give them your logo. So anything could come up, and you never want to have to be like, okay, well, I got to contact this person to get the logo, and then you got to wait 5 days. But I would say yes, when you meet with the first design, at least come in with one goal in mind for whatever project you have them doing, and then also ask them if the design will be released to you once it's completed.
Can you define a little bit more about what that one goal would be?
Well, it depends on your goal. For instance, if you're throwing an event and you need a flyer done, obviously you can throw everything, including the kitchen sink, on a flyer, but then no one's going to read it because, I'm sorry, nobody reads a flyer full of text. It just doesn't happen. So if your goal is to drive people to your website to get them to register, then I, as a designer, knows, okay, I want to put enough information in there that's going to drive them, but not have it that there's so much information that they're just going to be like, okay, well, why should I go to the website? It's all here. So it's things like that. It's things that you're going to want to know what it is, what your goal is that you want to accomplish with whatever project you're doing. If it's a logo, you're going and it's like, okay, well, I want to really get across that I'm a hairstylist, but I don't want to use scissors. I don't want to be, the clip art queen of haircutting. I want something that's really going to elevate me to show people that I work with a high-end clientele. So things like that. And I think honestly a lot of that, as I said before, it comes from sitting down and talking with your designer. If your designer's quick to rush you to get something done, you don't want to work with that. You need to take the time, designers need to take the time to learn about a possible client and what they do and what their goals and desires are before they can start creating anything for them. Hi, Stacy.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'd love to hear, when did it all come together right with a client? What was the best client situation where you had a challenge, you solved it, you helped them get more sales or whatever? What was that, and how did it work so we would know how to approach you to make it that same way?
Oh, goodness. The only one that really jumps out at me, and it was a small order. Sometimes the biggest victories don't have to be grandiose. I had a woman who came to me who was a pastry chef, and she could not find work. She's been trying to find work for so long. So she figured, okay, I think I need to just jazz up my resume. It was something that I don't normally do without completely upping the ante. I'm not one of those, okay, well, let me hop into Microsoft and type this up, and here you go. She really was looking for something more unique. So she came to me and she said, this is when I need a job. And I feel like my resume, they look at it and yeah, I'm experienced, but it isn't standing out. I just need something. I need something different. So I asked her to send me as many photos of her work as possible. You'd be amazed how many people do not put their work on anything. If you are a realtor and your whole job is to they're going to meet you and you're going to see people, you have to put your photo on a card. If you're a photographer, you're going to have to put your work on your stuff. You can't take like a clip art and put it on there. So I told her, I said, send me every good photo that you have of food that you've made. And what I did is I took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with text on it, and we created a bifold that had all her photos on there, still had the information and her experience, but it just stood out from anything that's been seen before. She contacted me 2 days later and said, I found a job. So that was probably one of the greatest ones that I did.
Where did you post it, on her website or on a blog or LinkedIn, or you just had it as part of her package?
I just had it as part of her package. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think we'll take one more question.
Oh, two hands. Can we take two? Can we take two more questions?
Maybe. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
Okay. So, it sounds like what you're doing is not as commoditized as just design work or just like printing. It sounds like what you're doing is more brand focused, more branding, which is a higher value service. So what you might want to consider is looking for clients who need branding, because it sounds like your process is really consultative. So it's more of a branding, not just design a logo or print some junk out. It's much more consultative and higher value for the company or the client that you're looking for.
Yes, that is correct. I will say, and yes, that's what I started doing. One of the things it has to be a sense of education, because I realize that I need it's more than branding. I know that it's branding and it's more than just creating a logo, and it's a higher end. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of just design. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's good feedback. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. What do you think?
So I work with lots of graphic designers.
Oh, Ron, I have a magazine for you, man.
How do you peel back the layers? Because a lot of times we entrepreneurs, we have this idea in our head, but we are terrible at communicating it to you, the graphic designer. So how do you peel back the layers to create design exactly what's going on in our head?
Oh, goodness. Well, like I said, it starts with the conversation first, because there's times that people will start talking about something. I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. So then I have to ask another question. So it's a series of questions that helps peel back that layer. And it also deals with, being able to, once you start getting to something initial that you can sit down and start designing, you may always have to come back and say, you know what, this is good. With a lot of people, it's visual. You can sit down and talk, but I've had people that just downright said, look, this is kind of what I'm looking for, but I'm not sure, but I won't know until I see it, which is, I just love that line. But even still, I sit down with them and I still keep going, okay, let's ask more questions. That's kind of my peeling of the layers, is that I have to continue that dialogue on my end, and it helps on their end, because a lot of times the client isn't going to know. They're not going to know what they're exactly. It's very rare that I get anybody that walks into my office and they're just like, I need this, and this, and I need it at this time, and I need it to look like this. I think I've had like two people in like 17 years that knew exactly what they wanted. So a lot of times it's just us having a conversation and really peeling back layers that way, So I'm not sitting in front of a computer going, okay, I'll try this. No. Okay, I'll try this. So it's none of that. Communication is a start to prevent any of that from happening.
Cool. And I have 2 more questions. For
Okay.
you.
Okay, so my questions for you are, first of all, red or green?
Red.
Okay, she's a red.
And I'm a wuss. And happy birthday to my mom. My mom.
Happy birthday.
My mom always laughs. I feel so bad. She loves her. She lives in Austin and she loves green. And she's so sad that I am so weak with chili. So I'm like I love my red, but it's like on the side because you don't know how hot it is. But red.
I feel the same way. I usually get it on the side. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what can we as a community do for you?
I mean, you helped do it today. I really liked the feedback you gave. I'm going to go ahead and implement that today. Take a look at how I am promoting myself and start changing that. So it's put out there first and foremost that I'm about branding, not just designing a logo, that it's more than that. So I'm going to start doing that today. So honestly, if you ever want to drop a line to me, you leave here and you're like, oh, you know what? I should have told her this. I am open to any suggestions and feedback that you have to offer, and I'm open to, if you want to know what I'm looking for in a client, if you have anybody in mind and want to send them that way, I can let you know who I'm looking for so we don't get anybody who's disrespectful.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.